Hello Toy Collector fans, Universal Toy Collector here and welcome to the channel. And welcome to another episode of My Collecting Life, the series where I get to speak to you, members of the toy collecting community, about your own personal collections, finding out what got you into collecting in the first place and what gives you that toy collecting buzz. Okay, so who's this week's guest on this week's episode? Well, you all know the drill. Grab yourselves a cuppa, sit yourselves down, put your feet up, even dunk a biscuit if you like, and let's take a look at some of his collection in a musical montage. Okay, so yet again, another absolutely fantastic collection, and it's vintage G.I. Joe with the O-ring style figures. I do like myself a bit of G.I. Joe. It's a pleasure to welcome to the channel for the first time, Jason Fredericks, also known as G.I. Joe Guy. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm all good. All good. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you taking the time out to do this. Thank you so much. Do you know anything about the series?
I do not.
Okay. All right. No worries. Not a problem. So basically, I've got 10 questions to ask you. It's all about you and your collection. Runtime's roughly about an hour. If we go over, it's no biggie. So, yeah, no rush to answer the questions. It's all about you. So, with that, let's crack on with the first question. What are your childhood memories and what toy lines were you into?
Well, I remember the first time I discovered G.I. Joe was in 1983. So that was right when the swivel arm versions came out. Uh,
Okay.
my
Yeah.
dad, my dad had passed away early in 1983. I was 8 years old at the time, and we were just sort of walking around a department store with my mom and my brother, and all of a sudden I saw this end cap that was just stuffed full of G.I. Joe figures, and I was just
Awesome.
totally blown away. I'd never seen. I wasn't really into action figures before that. Didn't really have a lot of toys
Okay.
at all. So yeah, I was just kind of fascinated by them. And I just went through all of them, just looking at all the details. The card art was amazing. The packaging as a whole was just beyond anything I'd ever seen before. And
Okay.
so my mom basically said, well, why don't you get a couple of them? Because I had no idea which one to get. So
Okay.
I probably spent 15, 20 minutes going through that whole shelf, just kind of picking through them and seeing what I wanted to get. And yeah,
Awesome.
that was my introduction to G.I. Joe. Besides G.I. Joe, I was really into Transformers
Okay. Yeah.
because, of course, you had, vehicles that turned into robots and vice versa, which, I mean, what kid doesn't like that? I was very much into
Absolutely.
cars, and robots were just kind of like cool anyway. So yeah, those were
Mm.
two big lines for me.
Awesome. So when you went into that shop and you saw the GI Joe figures, what figures were there at the time? Because I think GI Joe was out in 1982, wasn't it? And then 1983.
Yeah.
So what figures were in that line in 1983?
So yeah, 1982 would have been all the straight arm versions, and then they sort
Okay.
of,
Yeah.
yeah, they revamped the line and relaunched everything in 83 with the swivel arm. And they sort
Okay.
of they changed the molds a bit and kind of streamlined the figures. So that was, the whole first wave of 83 that would have been like Rock and Roll, Grunt, Airborne, Flash,
Yeah.
Snake
Yeah.
Eyes, all the green shirts, Short Fuse. I remember seeing those. Yeah, so pretty much everything from that first 83 line was probably on those
Awesome.
shelves.
And which two figures did you get in the end?
I remember Airborne was definitely one of the first, and maybe I'm gonna say Short Fuse because he had the clear visor. I thought that was really cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because
those were
back in those
probably two of the first for sure.
Okay, because back in those days, they all had the same head sculpt, didn't they? They just had different color hair and
A
different
lot
tones
of
to their
them,
skin and
yeah,
stuff like that. Yeah, awesome,
a
awesome. And vehicles,
lot of
what
them
vehicles were
share the
out and about?
same head
Oh, sorry.
sculpts.
Yeah.
That first time I saw them, I don't remember seeing vehicles. They might have had them there, but I was just looking at
Oh,
the
okay.
figures. I didn't look at any vehicles at the time. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And then you said
but
Transformers as well. Did you get yourself any Transformers?
I did end up having a handful of those. I had the big one, Optimus Prime. That
Okay.
was
Yeah.
probably I think that came out in '84. I really, yeah, I kind of begged my mom for that, and we sent away for it, and yeah, it came in the mail, and I played with that for years. Yeah, that's an amazing toy.
Yeah. Do you have any of your toys from your childhood? So, the pictures that you sent me in your collection, are they all from your original childhood toy line?
No, I really
Oh,
wish
okay.
I would have kept that stuff, but I
Mm.
kind of aged out in 1986. And then a few years later, when I was a teenager, one of my nephews was over and we just got onto the subject of toys. And I was like, oh, you know what? I've got a bunch of toys in the basement. We just kind of got him out and I let him play with them. And I saw that he was having fun. And so I gave him my entire collection,
Oh, wow.
which
Wow.
now I'm kicking myself for, but it was a it was a nice
You
gesture at the time because that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, at the time I was probably like 15 and I was like, I'm never gonna touch these again. So I might as well give them to someone.
That leads perfectly into the next question. So, when did you stop playing with your toys, and then when did you realize you became a collector? So, obviously, you said you were 15 when you sort of was that
Yeah,
when you stopped them when you just gave them away, or
I collected and played with GI Joe from '83 to '86. So
okay,
in 1986, I discovered skateboarding,
okay, yeah,
and so I was really kind of fell in love with that, and I knew that I couldn't do both. I kind of had to make a choice between toys or skateboards, because
okay,
there wasn't
yeah,
there wasn't money to do both. And
okay,
so I decided I was going to get into skateboarding really heavy. And even though I hadn't really outgrown toys, I felt like I had kind of outgrown my phase of GI Joe at that time.
okay. So, when you say you hadn't outgrown toys, was there other toy lines that you were into at that age, or was it just totally stopping into skateboarding?
Um, the next thing that came out that kind of caught my attention was the Batman toys for the Batman movie in
Okay.
1989. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think like a little bit later some Ninja Turtle stuff, but I didn't really have a lot of that. I didn't really collect after that. Maybe just one or two things I would have.
Okay. So when did you think? Well, I'll tell you what. I want to start collecting it. What got you back into collecting? Because obviously you had
Things,
that long period where you weren't into toys as
yeah,
much,
yeah.
you weren't into collecting. So what got you back into collecting again?
Over the years, I would occasionally get things. I remember in maybe around 2000, 2001, the Simpsons line came out.
Yeah.
And, I bought like a few Simpsons figures. So I would always have stuff kind of here and there. But then I would end up moving or, something would happen and I would just kind of give whatever I had away to people. It
Yeah.
was not really stuff that I held on to. I would just have a few things here and there. But then, I got on Instagram probably 2013. And after a few years of being on there, I would occasionally see pictures of toys and see,
Yeah.
people's toy collections. And I was like, oh my God, I remember that. It would just bring me right back to my childhood. And I'd tell myself, I was like, someday I'm going to start collecting this again. And
Mm.
I kind of went on like that for a few years. And then it wasn't until 2 years ago that I finally made the decision. I was like, okay, this is the day I'm going to start,
Awesome.
And then, yeah, I kind of went on eBay and started acquiring things and researching things. And yeah, just kind of built from there.
So what was the first figure that you got from the GI Joe for your GI Joe collection when you started collecting again? When you looking on eBay?
Um, I think I got Destro and Ripcord.
Okay.
Both, I think those are both no, I think Destro's 1983 and maybe Ripcord is 84. I'm not sure. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then pretty soon after that, I
Those
got
ones.
Airborne since he was one of the first ones I got in the first place when I was a kid. So I definitely
Okay.
wanted to get him.
So
And then yeah, from there
how
it was
long?
just kind of
So
like it turned into a big addiction really quickly.
it does, doesn't it? You get
Yeah.
sucked back right into it, don't you? And you just
Oh
like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
And it's especially with this day and age when you've got like the internet and eBay and stuff like that, and you can just scour through
Yes.
and have a look and stuff like that. So
Yep.
with your collection now, have you got pretty much all the things, all the guys that you had when you was a kid,
Um,
or do you still need a couple
pretty
more to complete
pretty
those?
pretty close. The one thing I can remember that I had that I don't have now is the GI Joe headquarters.
Okay.
I also don't have Zartan with his swamp skier. And I don't have a vintage Snake Eyes from '83.
Okay. Yeah.
I have the reissue that Hasbro did last year, which is a really amazing figure, but I don't have the vintage
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. So with those figures, the Hasbro ones,
But
have
I
you
think,
been getting into that or?
yeah, I like the modern O-rings. I think they did a really good job. I know there were some issues with some of them. Like for instance, the Duke that they reissued, his face is not great. It's kind of wonky, like
Oh, okay.
something's wrong with his eyes. But other than
Oh,
that,
okay.
I think they've been really cool. Like the Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow 2-pack was awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. I love all the extra accessories they gave with them. I think they did a really good job on those.
And what about the Sky Striker? Did you back that, the HasLab?
I did, and it just came in the mail yesterday.
Oh, so you've opened it,
Yeah, I
and
did. I put it together and I put all the stickers on it. I think it's just absolutely amazing. They really
isn't
knocked
it
it out of the
incredible?
park with that. Yes,
They did. Absolute quality piece.
I felt like a kid again. It felt like
Yeah,
1983 opening that thing up. It was amazing. Yeah, I can't say enough about it. I wish they would do more things
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they've had two successful GI Joe HasLabs now, haven't they? With the Sky Striker, and then you had the 6-inch his tank that got backed.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
hopefully in the future they'll go a long way to do some more. So what sticker decals did you put on there on your Sky
I kept
Striker?
mine. I kept mine pretty traditional. Yeah, I
Okay,
kind of made
yeah,
it look like an old school one. I put the
awesome.
black rear stabilizers on it because yeah, just to kind of make it look a little bit different and kind of match the box art.
Okay.
But
Awesome.
yeah,
Did you
I
have
kind
one
of
of
went
those
through a
Sky Striker? Oh,
tradition like.
sorry. Did you have a
I was
Sky
just saying
Striker as a kid?
I did. I did. I
You
had a
did.
lot
Yeah.
of the stuff from '83. I had most of what they put out from '83, and then from like '83 down, it kind of went downhill. I had less and less as the years went by, but yeah, '83 was a
Oh,
really big year
okay.
for me. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you had like the whale. So what was it?
I
What?
that I didn't have that. I wasn't really into
Oh,
that as a
okay.
kid for some reason. It's a really
Oh, okay.
amazing vehicle. I don't know why I didn't like it as a kid. I
Mm,
was just like, eh.
yeah. Yeah. Because we had a lot of Action Force stuff over here.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
we had the whale, but it was an Action Force whale, and
right.
I don't know if I just move out of the way. I don't know if you can just see it on the top shelf over there. I did a resurrection. Oh, what do you call them? A restoration job
Oh
on
yeah,
that. So
right.
that's all got Action Force stickers. Then up there, I've got the actual Action Force Sky Striker as well, which is out of shot at the moment. But I managed to get the HasLab one as well, Sky Striker, and I'm just loving the figures. You open the box and then you take those bits of cardboard away, and you've just got that beautiful box art just staring
Yeah,
at you, and you just think,
yeah.
oh my god. And like you, I was just taken back to a kid when you'd walk down the aisles of the toy stores and stuff like that, and you just see this box art for the whale, the Sky Striker, all the GI Joe figures. It was absolutely amazing, and I guess that was a big draw for you as a kid as well. Then, just seeing the box art and
Oh
the
yeah,
card and
yeah.
stuff.
I mean, that would totally sell me on it. I'd be like, oh, yeah, that looks amazing. Just looking at
How,
the artwork was just, yeah, that was huge.
absolutely. How important do you think that is then to have the box art and because it's got to be appealing to kids? So, how important do you think that is? Because that's interesting to find out.
Um, yeah, I mean, that was a genius marketing ploy with that artwork. I don't know who they got to do those paintings, but it's absolutely beautiful. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, it made you want to buy that toy because you kind of see it in action on the front, and
Yeah,
they look amazing, and they look so realistic too. You're like, oh yeah, I gotta have that
absolutely.
because I could take that home and recreate that, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Was you into
Yeah,
the
the box
comics? Was you
art's
into the
always been
cartoons?
great.
Sorry, there's a bit of a delay
I only
on
had
the feed at the
one
moment.
comic. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go on about the
Um, I
comics.
yeah, I only had one of the comic books. I had the Silent Interlude, which is it doesn't have any words. It's sort of like the Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes story.
Okay.
It's just, yeah.
And
Um, I read
and
that one so much that the cover fell off of it. So,
oh wow. What about the cartoons? What about did you watch the Sunbow cartoons?
absolutely, every day after school,
Yeah.
I was watching that cartoon. That was one of
And
my favorite things, and I just started watching it recently again.
oh okay. Awesome. Awesome. Did you watch the Renegades, G.I. Joe Renegades?
Um, I did see that. I I couldn't get into it. The artwork is really really weird to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a lot of people really like that. I couldn't get into it. I'm too stuck in the old days, you know.
Yeah. Fair enough. Absolutely. So my next question, I think I'm gonna know the answer to this. Which was your favorite toy line and why? Or did it change? Because I know you're saying you had Transformers and G.I. Joe. I'm guessing you swing more towards G.I. Joe.
Yeah, definitely. I spent so much time playing with those toys, and they were just, like I mentioned before, after my dad passed away, they were just a huge distraction for me and
Yeah,
a much welcome distraction from all that. Yeah, I spent countless hours playing with those toys. I think Transformers are great too, but yeah, for me, it'll always be G.I. Joe. That was that was the biggest toy in the world for me.
absolutely. Awesome. I found it interesting that you said from 1983 you thought that G.I. Joe went downhill. So what figures and vehicles came after 1983 that you thought, well, I'm not really keen on these and I'm going to stop getting these?
What I was saying earlier is my collection went downhill. Like I got less and less each year.
Oh,
But
I see. Okay,
but
yeah.
I do remember seeing some things in 1987 because I would kind of still look through the catalogs and see what they were coming out with, and
Hmm.
I didn't like the direction it was going at the time because it started out being really traditional kind of military stuff.
Yeah,
And then I remember in the late 80s it started going to like neon colors and just
yeah,
bizarre vehicles and yeah, just it seemed to be going in just a weird direction that I didn't really care for.
yeah.
But now I like some of that brightly colored stuff and some of it's pretty cool. I still get things, from the later years. I just kind of pick and choose because not all of it's great.
Okay, awesome. Because I got friends that are like really heavily into GI Joe, and they've got like the USS Flag, they've got the Defiant, they've got the Rolling Thunder, they've got the Pterodrome. Now, I'm being from the UK back in the 80s, of course, with there not being any internet. We didn't even I didn't even know those toys were available that you could get. I mean, we never had those in the UK. So I feel I wouldn't say I missed out as a kid, but I feel that a lot of guys that like GI Joe from the UK had missed out on those kind of like toys like the Flag and the Defiant. Did you end up getting anything like that or as a kid?
Um, no, I clearly remember when the flag came out, and of course, it just completely blew my mind because it was the biggest toy in the world. And
Yeah.
I remember seeing the price tag, and I was just like, "There's just no way. I can't even bring myself to ask my mom for this because it was too expensive. I think it was like 120 bucks over here,
Oh,
and
crikey.
and that back then that might as well have been $1,000. There was just no
Yeah,
way that was going to
absolutely. Yeah.
happen. And so,
Yeah.
no, I never did ask for it, but each year you would get these Christmas catalogs from department stores, and I would go through and of course look at all the pictures of the GI Joe stuff, and of course the flag. And even as the years went by, I would go back and look at those catalogs and be like, oh my God, I really just wish I could get this thing. It was kind of like the ultimate playset, and I didn't even know anyone who got one of those. I never
Oh,
saw
okay.
one in real life up until a couple of years ago.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting because, like,
Um,
I mean, like you, I never knew it existed until like 2020. So that's crazy
yeah,
to think that.
yeah. And I,
Absolutely.
I I don't have any of the three grails. I don't have the flag, and I don't have the Defiant, and I don't have the Terror Drone. Um, I remember the Terror Drone came out kind of just after I stopped collecting, and I remember being like really happy because I was like, finally, Cobra has a headquarters because they didn't have any big playsets for Cobra up until that. It's
Yeah.
kind of like
Mm.
GI Joe had everything, and I was like, well, how are we supposed to make this even? If Cobra
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't have a headquarters, that always kind of bothered me. So I was really happy when that came out, even though I wasn't buying GI Joe stuff anymore. I was like, yes, finally they are giving Cobra something.
Funny you mentioned Grails. That was going to be one of my next questions. Do you have a Grail piece that you would love to add to your
um,
collection?
of course, there's the big three.
Yeah.
The flag
If you could
is
choose one, if you could choose one, which one would it be and why?
one. Um,
Yeah.
I think the flag would be off the table because I don't have room for it. So let's
Okay.
just, as much as I would love to have that, let's just mark that one off the list right now. So then
Okay.
we got the Defiant or the Terrordrome. I think I would have to go to the Terrordrome just
Aerodrome.
because, yeah, I think that the Defiant is probably a little bit too big and too fragile for me right now, too. I think the Terrordrome would make sense. Is right now I'm kind of trying to build up some of my Cobra troopers. So
Okay.
I think, yeah, having the Terror Drone would probably make the most sense for me right now,
That I
out of all the Grail pieces.
Well, listen, I'll be happy with just one of those. I really
Yeah,
would. Like I say,
yeah, me
we
too.
never had
Sure.
anything like that over in the
No,
UK. I mean, you saying about the flag being $120 back in the day. I mean, yes, at that time that was a lot of money, but my
yeah,
goodness me, the amount of money it goes for now is just unbelievable. So I guess that's another off-putting factor about trying to get the
yeah,
flag is the cost.
yeah. It seems like they can go as high as 5 grand,
Yeah, I know. That's
and if it's sealed in the box, geez, I don't even know how much that would be. 10 grand, maybe more. Who knows?
uh,
But
I mean, I don't know if you've seen on Instagram. Well, I mean, you say you don't watch too many YouTube channels, but there's a guy called Scuba Pete, and he's does a lot of stuff on chasing 80s toys, and he's got himself a flag, and he's actually built an underneath to it, so it's like resting on a table, but the table's been designed
Yeah.
into a hole, so you've got different sections where you've got different rooms and vehicle ports and all that sort of stuff. He's got it all lit up, and it's just absolutely fantastic what he's done with that. I mean, he's on Instagram. He's under Scuba Pete, but what he does and what he's done with his flag is just phenomenal. It really is, and I think there's a lot of other people that have sort of like done like for like with that kind of thing and just customized it and made it like big enough to put stuff underneath it. He's got a whale set under there. He's got the Deep Six and all that sort of stuff and all those different vehicles. It's just incredible what he's done. So absolutely. Moving on. Next question. What is your most treasured part of your collection? The bit that if you, oh Christ, I better go and I've got to take this. What would it be and why?
Well, one thing that comes to mind is I have a 1983 Cobra Commander figure that is in really nice condition. He's got like the good face shield. He's got like really minimal paint wear, really nice condition. That's a very prized piece for me because that took a long time to kind of track that one down. I sort of bought several Cobra Commanders over time, and then I would get one that was in better condition and sell the old one, and I just kind of worked my way up until I found one that was really nice. So that's kind of a grail piece for me, even though it's just a little figure. I do have an unbroken Night Raven Cobra plane.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I'm kind of proud of that one. That's another nice piece. That's a really fragile plane, so they're kind of hard to find unbroken.
Yeah.
You can probably see above me here, I have a different line of toy, Star Wars AT-AT.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was never huge into Star Wars as a kid. I didn't kind of see those movies until later, really, but I always wanted one of those AT-ATs, even as a kid, before I even kind of knew what they were. That was just another kind of big, amazing toy. So I kind of finally got one of those. That was nice to get.
Awesome. So you weren't like as a kid, you weren't big into Star Wars then, or you just something that didn't interest you at the time?
I was kind of young. I didn't see Star Wars in the theater. I didn't see any of those movies in the theater. I don't know what happened. I sort of missed out on that somehow. I didn't see those till probably later on, maybe as an early teenager or mid-teens, when I kind of got into those movies. Now, yeah, I love Star Wars now. I don't really have any of the vintage stuff. Most of the stuff I have is from the 90s.
Okay.
But I have a really, really small Star Wars collection, just a few things.
Well, that's okay. I mean, blimey,
Yeah.
you've got a fantastic GI Joe collection, so it's
Yeah, I'm trying to focus on Joe, so I can't spread myself too thin.
Yeah, so my next question was actually going to be, what other toy lines do you collect or currently collect? And I'm guessing you just get the occasional Star Wars, and then you're sort of like trying to.
Yeah, I'm really trying to concentrate on Joe's. I know it's hard because there is so much stuff out there, but I do have a few Simpsons figures, from the 2000s that I was talking about earlier. I would like to get some more of those, but yeah, right now I'm kind of focusing on army building some Cobra troopers. So yeah, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to stick to one thing and stay focused.
Oh, that's
with so much stuff out there,
Yeah,
But I try.
It can be a bit of a ball ache, but I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I've seen you've got a Cobra Rattler. I mean, that was quite notorious for being quite a delicate vehicle. I mean, that has got to be possibly my favorite Cobra vehicle. I mean, I just love the color of it. I love the design of it. I love the style of it. I never had one as a kid. And I know they did the Rattler in the Tiger Force colors. As much as I like the Rattler, the Tiger Force one I wasn't too keen on, so I passed on that because I just wanted to get myself an original one. I mean, yours looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, when did you manage to pick that up?
So that one that I have is actually from 2008 when they sort of reissued those.
Oh, okay.
So it's a newer version. It looks almost exactly the same as the 84, but I think the bombs might be a slightly different color. So also the quality of the plastic is a bit different. It's a bit more pliable, so it's less fragile than the one from 84.
Yeah,
So yeah, that one's in almost perfect condition. There's the landing gear is not broken. I don't think anything is broken on that. Nothing's missing except for maybe the extra damage panels that the original came with. If you remember those, they had like kind of bullet holes in some of the panels you
yeah,
could
yeah,
replace.
yeah.
Yeah, I got that at a fairly good price. That was a really, really good buy. I love that plane. I loved it when it came out. Somehow, I don't think I ever saw that in stores because I'm sure I would have begged my mom to buy me that. But yeah, I never
Mm,
had the older one, and yeah, the landing gear is notorious for being broken on
yeah,
those.
yeah,
And
definitely. I mean, no, go on.
yeah, yeah, it's an amazing plane. I love that thing. I
I
have
mean,
it
I
hanging up on one of my shelves. So yeah,
no, it does look fantastic. I mean, I didn't even realize that they re-released it in 2008. So was that
yeah,
part of the
yeah.
25th GI Joe anniversary line? Was it?
So yeah, I think so. What would have that been? Like the 25th
Oh,
anniversary,
crikey.
maybe?
25th, yeah, I think something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. Did
Yeah,
you get
they
many of
they
those figures?
no, I actually I'm not a big fan of those. I kind of stick to the
No.
O-ring.
Okay.
I had one of them and I just kind of looked at it and I was like, this doesn't look right. It looks kind of weird. Like the
Yeah.
limbs are very bulky and just I don't know, it's strange looking. I know people
Yeah.
really like them. I can't really get into them.
Hmm.
I'm
I
I'm
mean,
kind
there's
of an
nothing.
O-ring. I'm an O-ring
Well, I mean,
purist.
see, the O-ring was the thing that sold me for the HasLab because I was
Yeah, oh
I'm
yeah, yeah, yeah.
backing it and I wasn't going to back it,
Yep.
and I found out it had been backed. I was like, oh, okay, and then I found out that it was actually O-ring figures that they were doing with it. I was like, I can't miss out, so that's why I backed it simply because of the O-ring figures, and
Yes.
I, I just think they're absolutely amazing. I mean, the card backs look great. I mean, you've got that Scarlet in the flight suit. I quite like her. You've got two new figures in Ramp Rat and is it who's the GI Joe guy? There's another GI Joe guy in there as well. Yeah,
Oh,
who's
yeah. Failsafe.
Failsafe. That's it. Yeah, and I,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm really, really pleased with the quality of the Sky Striker and all the accessories that come with it. It's just an absolute fantastic display piece for sure. And if it hadn't have been for the fact it was O-ring, I wouldn't have got it. I don't think I would have backed it.
Yeah. I wasn't gonna back
So
it up until they offered that Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander, and I was like, okay, I have to back this now because I have to have that.
yeah, yeah, no, definitely. But the thing is, as well, it only just missed out on the final stretch goals, which were the two GI Joe
Yeah,
Grand Prix, and I think that's such
yeah,
a shame. But I mean, for what we got and the price, I think that was a pretty good bargain. What? Let
yeah.
me ask you this: what do you feel the chances are of HasLab doing a GI Joe USS flag as a HasLab project? Would they do it? And
I've
if they
heard a
did, would you
lot
back
of
it?
people talk about that. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people make comments on that. A lot of people talking about it. I just don't know. That seems. I don't know. I don't know if they would do it. That seems like a huge undertaking. That's a
Mm,
that's a monstrous playset, as we know, and I'm sure they would have to make
exactly.
all new molds because they would kind of want to remodel it a little bit here and there just to make it not exactly like the vintage, because they wouldn't
Yeah.
want people trying to sell them as being vintage.
Mm,
I don't know what the price point would be either on something like that. I imagine it would have to be astronomical. So I don't
yeah.
know if
Well,
I would have
definitely. Yeah.
the I don't know if my wallet is deep enough to back something like that, but if they do it, I mean, I would take out a loan. I don't know.
I mean,
I,
I would say starting price. You're probably looking at probably over £1,000 or dollars.
yeah,
If
for
that's the
sure.
case, if that's the case, you might as well get yourself an original one, surely. Or again, would that
Yeah,
be still too? I mean, because it doesn't
yeah.
have. I mean, would you if you got an original one with at that price, would it have to be immaculate? Would it have to have all the parts in there? Or would you quite happy get it as is and then get the bits and bobs later on that you need to complete it? How would you do that?
If I was gonna buy a flag, I think it would have to
Mm.
be mostly complete, just because it's so expensive to buy parts separately. But a lot of them aren't complete. So I think if it was mostly there, if it's missing some small pieces here and there, I'd be happy with that for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of repro parts too. If it's missing some of the radar array or small parts like that, I would be happy using repro parts too. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just as
Yeah.
as
Well,
long as it looks pretty good.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. What do you think of the classified, the 6-inch GI Joes? Are you happy with those, or not your cup of
Uh,
tea?
I haven't bought any of them. I think some of them look amazing. Some of them are I just recently saw the Dusty figure that came out, and I was like, he doesn't look that great, but yeah, some of them look amazing. And I know some of the names that came out recently that they're going to do in the future. They seem, like that would be pretty cool. They're kind of going
Mm.
back and doing some classic figures. Like I saw that they were going to do the Snow Serpent, which I would be interested in that for sure. So I don't know. I'm gonna see what they do with it. I might buy a few of them. They're really big, and I don't really have a lot of room, so I
Yeah,
can't
they do take
really.
up a lot of shelf space for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, I can't collect those right now. Like I said before, I'm focused on O-ring right now because I still
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff I'd like to get. But yeah, I think the classified is a really cool line. And there's a ton more detail that they can do with the bigger figures. And they did
Yeah.
that HasLab Hiss tank. That thing looks amazing. I'm
Yeah.
really
I mean,
looking
that
forward
got
to seeing
back. Yeah.
people's Hiss tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, that was one thing that I just thought I cannot, I can't get that. Well, I could have if I wanted to, but I just thought I don't have the space. It's going to be pretty big, and B, I can't really justify spending that much money because it comes a time when you've just got to think, okay, well, I've got to hold back. I can't just go gung ho into it and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. But with the classified, I mean, um when they were first released, I think that a lot of the figures were based on a video game that came out at the time. So I think that caused a bit of upset with the GI Joe fans and stuff like that, because you had Duke, you had Gung Ho, you had Scarlet, and not Gung Ho. Oh yeah, Gung Ho and Roadblock, and they didn't look like the classic 80s style designs that they had
Mm.
back then. They had these Nerf guns and stuff like that, and they just didn't look that great. But now they're they're doing the figures. They're doing them on the retro cards. They've done a few on the retro cards. You've got Gung Ho with the retro card that you come with in the 80s. You've got Destro, Baroness, Lady J, and the figures are looking a lot better. They are looking a lot better than what they started off with the classified line. So I find that quite comforting that they've gone back to the roots of GI Joe and trying to get the more original look on the figures. But yes, I mean, again, there's cost on those as well. They're quite expensive, aren't they? They can be quite expensive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am glad that they're kind of going back to some of the retro looking figures, but yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah, definitely.
for now, I'm gonna have to stay out of the classified game. Like I said, I might pick up one or
Yeah.
two in the future if they look really cool. There's some that I don't think I could pass up if they do actually come out with them. So
Mm-hmm. So, did you ever Action Force? Are you aware of Action Force, which is the UK version of GI Joe?
a little bit. I wasn't aware of that at all up until I sort of started recollecting, and then I kind of stumbled across them, and I was like, oh, this is cool. That makes sense that they would
Mm,
be called Action Force. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, because you had like SAS Force, you had Z Force, Q Force, Space Force, and they were all like 5 POA kind of figures. And the only O-ring figures that we had back in the day were like a couple of like Cobra Troopers and Destro. But I mean, Destro, this would be Destro. Where's the camera? There's Destro there. So he's done up that he's actually called Red Jekyll. So
Ah.
that was the Action Force version of Destro. And then when G.I. Joe came over to the UK, it all sort of like transitioned and stuff like that. And GI Joe then became, or Action Force then became GI Joe, but it was GI Joe International Hero with Full Force instead of Yo Joe sort of thing. So that was quite an interesting
Yeah.
time. So yeah. Right. Would you ever consider starting your own YouTube channel?
I don't know. Maybe in the future, I could kind of see myself maybe doing that. I've thought about it here and there, but it feels like other people are kind of covering everything pretty well. I don't know. I don't know if I
Yeah.
would have too much to add to what's already out there. I learned kind of a lot of toy repairs and some restoration tricks and stuff like that on YouTube. So
Yeah, they're quite handy, aren't
uh,
they, those?
yeah, definitely. I don't know if you ever saw the gun fix for the his tank. They kind of get floppy because
Okay.
there's like a little internal pin that breaks on those, and then the guns just kind of droop, and they don't. There's a fix online that I found for that. I kind of went nuts
Okay.
buying his tanks and fixing them up that way. So yeah, there's some really handy stuff on there.
Yeah, I mean, I know a couple of Toy Ploy is a
Oh
YouTube
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
He does some good restoration
yep,
stuff, and so does Michael French from Retro Blasting.
yeah.
He does some good restorations. He used to. I don't know whether he still does or not, but yeah. So, well, question number 8. We've already kind of covered that. That was going to be: would you consider or start considering to collect GI Joe classified line? But we've already sort of covered that. So, just 2 more questions then. And so, what gives you that toy collecting buzz?
Just in general, you mean?
Well, yeah. What? Yeah. Just in general, what is it that you enjoy? What gives you the buzz of toy collecting? Can be
Oh,
anything.
I think it's just a total nostalgia trip. It's like going back to your childhood before you had any real cares and worries, and it just sort of makes you forget about all the political bullshit that's going on in the world, and
Absolutely, yeah.
it's something pure that is yeah, it just kind of takes you away from all the other crap that you have to deal with, and it's just
Mm,
yeah, pure
absolutely,
form of enjoyment. And
exactly.
it's fun hunting things down, and yeah, displaying, of course. I
So,
had
do
stuff
you
in bins for a long time, so now I've got stuff displayed. That's part of the fun too, is just kind of looking at it.
definitely do you prefer going out on toy hunts and looking around shops, or are you quite happy doing it online?
I mostly do things online. There are a few shops around me. I don't really go out and toy hunt that much because it seems like it's kind of hard to find bargains in stores.
Mm,
I don't know. Seems like it's easier to find what you're looking for online, especially if you're looking for something specific. Like if I'm just going out to look just for the hell of it, yeah, going to stores is fun. But yeah, like I
mm.
said, a lot of stuff seems to be overpriced in stores.
Yeah,
Yeah, looking online can be hard too. You got competition from other people on selling platforms, so it can be really hard to hunt down specific things sometimes. But especially, online, if you need parts or anything like that, accessories, you might not be able to find that in a store. It's kind of easier to track down online.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a shame with the stores. I mean, it's totally different going into stores now, isn't it? And looking for toys, because it's not like it used to be back in the 80s where you could walk in and had the whole range of GI Joe, you had a whole range of He-Man, Transformers, Star Wars, whatever. I mean, and it was all plentiful. There was never any issue of like a figure,
Yeah, yeah.
a shop running out of figures and stuff like that. But now, I mean, you've got all these pre-orders. I mean, are you into the pre-orders, or you're not too
Um,
keen on that? Well, I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
suppose you would do, because because you collect the O-ring stuff, don't you? So
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I have done some pre-orders for O-ring stuff. Yeah, it depends on what it is.
yeah,
Of course, things like the HasLab Sky Striker, of course, that's a pre-order only. So
well,
that's the only way
yeah,
you can get it.
yeah,
But
true.
what I was talking about before about stores, I was speaking about vintage toy stores specifically. But yeah, if
Oh,
you go
okay,
in
yeah.
if you go into like a normal department store, I've gone in and
Yeah,
looked for things, and there's like nothing on the shelf. It's always
yeah,
gone. I
mm,
never find anything at normal stores. It's just like it's a waste of time for me. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, like you were saying, when we were kids, the shelves were stacked to the ceiling, and now there's nothing. I don't understand why they can't put stuff in stores anymore. Like, why
mm,
isn't the Sky Striker being just released in stores? Or, before that they did the Cobra Stinger Jeep, and it was online
yeah,
only, and it sold out immediately. And like, why can't
yeah.
you just put that in stores? Like, people would buy it up like no tomorrow. I don't understand that. I don't know why they can't go back to that business platform. I just doesn't make any sense
I
to
don't
me.
know. I mean, is it the stores that not wanting to vacate the store, the shelves, and that are they worried that that stuff isn't going to sell because and then it all gets put on reduced and stuff like that? I mean, you have peg warmers and whatnot.
I mean, yeah, I have seen some peg warmers, but mostly when I go in, the stuff is just gone because maybe scalpers come in and swipe it all, or just
Well,
they
there's
have
that as well.
limited
Yeah.
stock. I don't know what it is, but I really haven't been able to find anything in stores. Like once in a while, I'll see something. I think I saw like that classified breaker with the RAM cycle. That was
Yeah.
probably like the one thing I actually saw in the store. I was like, oh wow, too bad I don't collect classified.
Mm.
Or I'll see like
I mean,
some of the movie figures that no one wants. Like there's that Baroness movie figure. Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
just the classic peg warmers that no one really wants. I see those all the time, but nothing that people actually want.
Talking
That
of
stuff's usually gone.
talking of movies, what did you think of the GI Joe movies and the Snake Eyes Origins movie? Were you disappointed? Were you a fan?
I tried to avoid those movies for a long time because I saw they had pretty bad reviews, but I did
Mm,
watch Rise of Cobra. Is that the first
that's the
modern
first
G.I.
one.
Joe
Yeah.
movie? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of cheesy.
In
It
it.
was it was
Yeah.
a, I don't think I finished it. I was just like, yeah, not
That's,
great.
that's
But
what I
what can you
don't.
expect?
Well, listen, I've had this chat with people before, and you've got the foundation of GI Joe. You've got the Sunbow animated cartoons. You've got all the figures, all the characters there. You've got the comic books. I mean, they did some great storylines back then. You've got all the characters, you've got all the vehicles, all the situations, and you've got for me, you've got the perfect foundation for building a or making a great movie. And then they come out with that and try and modernize it and stuff like that. No, 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 no. If you're
Yep.
gonna do something that was set back in the 80s, from the 80s, then do it in that timeline. Have those vehicles, have those characters and those uniforms that those characters are. But yes, make it as if it's a modern day film with your updated CGI and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, by all means. But keep the look and the feel of it back in the day, back in the 80s. And they do that with a lot of films. It's like Transformers. You had the platform there, you had the toys, you had the TV series, you had the comics. And then the only one that I liked from Transformers was Bumblebee because that was set in the 80s and Bumblebee looked more like his. Do you know what I mean? They could have done that with G.I. Joe, and I just what they did, I just didn't enjoy. I didn't think it was that great.
Yeah, like you said, they've got plenty of material to pull from. They've got all those stories from the comics and the
Mm,
cartoons, and yeah, just like you said, set it in the 80s, or at least give it that feel, give it that look. Yeah, they try to modernize everything, and it looks like garbage. I don't know what they're
yeah,
doing.
yeah,
Doesn't make any sense to me, but
yeah. And then
I'm
and then the
old
Snake
school,
Eyes
so
origin story. I was looking forward to that. Oh, sorry, go on.
no, I was just saying I'm old school, so I like everything to
Yeah.
be retro.
Well,
Yeah, how
listen.
was
I mean,
how,
yeah, yeah. So I was going to say, absolutely. If it's gonna, if you're taking something from the 80s and keep it in that time era, and don't try and modernize it too much. And do you know what I mean? It's just
yeah, yeah.
keep it pure, keep it original. If you're going to do that and just mess around with it, you might as well make a whole new franchise and a whole new film. Do you know what I mean? That's that sort of thing annoys me. But yes, you were going to say about the Snake Eyes Origins movie.
Oh, I was gonna ask you how it was. I didn't see it. What did you think of it?
Yeah, no. No, simple as that. Simple as that.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I was so excited when they announced that they were going to do it, and I thought, wow, this is going to be great. You know, they're going to go back to his origins and stuff like that. And again, they just totally pushed the comics and his origins aside from the comics and what we know of Snake Eyes and everything like that. And then they've just done what they did. And I've seen it once, and I probably won't ever watch it again, unfortunately. But
yeah,
it's
you know,
such a shame.
it's kind of like the show Stranger Things. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
You know, that's totally retro 80s, and that did very well. Like, why
yeah,
can't they do that with these toy lines? You know, it's the same aesthetic. You know,
yeah.
people who lived in the 80s, like you and me, they have kids now. They're going to take all their kids to see it, and people who just are into retro stuff or whatever, everyone's going to go see it. You know,
Mm.
I don't know why
I
they
don't
have
know
to
why.
modernize it and ruin it.
No, I don't. I don't get it. I really don't. It is baffling.
Yeah.
You know, anyway. Right. The last question. Okay, this is the big one, the important one. Yeah. What does your collection mean to you?
Oof. Geez. That's kind of a deep question, I guess.
Yeah, well, you can take it any way you want it for it to be taken.
Yeah, I think it kind of harkens back to what I said before. It's kind of very much reliving childhood. It feels like you're going back in time. It's kind of a definite time machine. Just kind of looking at these toys, you have memories of them. Either you had them or you saw them or you've seen them in the store, and it really takes you back in time because toys
Mm,
just aren't made like that anymore. You know, if you kind of look at some of the modern Transformers in stores, they're just formed plastic. You know, they don't even have like clear windshields. The windshield is just painted on. And, you know,
yeah,
the wheels are plastic. Back in the day, they had like rubber tires on those things. And
yeah,
the detail and the workmanship was really amazing. And it's unfortunate they don't make stuff like that anymore, you know? So yeah, I think for me, it's mostly nostalgia and wonder and, you know, hunting down what you're looking for in the condition that you want it in. It's amazing that these toys have survived it the way they have.
mm,
You know, it's really amazing to see people who have stuff still in the package, you know, unopened.
yeah,
That kind of stuff blows my mind. It's like, wow, this was never opened or played with, you know. Or sometimes you find stuff, you know, that has been opened, but it was never played with because it has like zero scratches on it, no wear whatsoever. You know, it's
mm,
yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool to see other people's collections. Some people have outrageous collections that are worth thousands of dollars.
mm.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's a rabbit hole that you can just go down forever. You know, there's
Yes,
really
it's a
no
pretty
end to
big
it.
rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Just going back to what you said with how things were made back in the 80s with the rubber tires and the clear windscreens and stuff like that. Do you think they've changed it now because of cost, or do you think it's just laziness?
I think it probably comes down to cost. Maybe it's 50-50, but I would say probably mostly cost. They're just trying to cut corners. You
Mm,
know, manufacture this stuff as
mm.
cheaply as possible and throw it on a peg, and hopefully someone will buy it. And kids don't know any different because they don't have the history behind it. You know,
No, they don't.
if there's
I
a kid
get
out
that.
there buying Transformers now, he doesn't have the old one to compare it to, so he doesn't know the difference. But you know, people our age, we do
Mm.
because we had those toys and we know what the
Well, yeah,
quality
but
was. It doesn't compare.
exactly. So people our age that are still buying that sort of stuff,
Yeah,
and then they're going to be, you know, they're going to get these toys and these companies are going to get a bad review. And especially now where we're in a
yeah.
time of social media and everybody's on
Oh,
like sort of YouTube
yeah,
or internet or something like that, you would have thought that they would have learnt their lesson by now and thought, okay, we've got to put out a good quality product here. Let's not cut corners because we're going to get our asses whipped because people are not going to either not going to buy it, or B, they're going to get a really, really shitty review. So I cannot understand why these companies are constantly putting out poor quality items, because I don't think, I mean, back in the day, those toys that we had, whether it be Star Wars or G.I. Joe, they were meant to be played with. They could take a beating. You know, it would take a lot to break some of the stuff back in our day. But now you've only just got to move an arm and it would just snap off. Or, do you know what I mean? Take it out of the packet and it snaps.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy. Absolutely. And you're paying
yeah.
40, 50 quid for some of these collectible toys and stuff. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, some of those O-ring 2-packs that Hasbro did lately, there was some
Mm,
serious quality issues with some of that stuff, and it's like, how did you not catch this? You're a huge corporation
yeah,
worth billions of dollars. Like, it's not really
absolutely.
acceptable. It's yeah, not
Yeah.
good. But then again, Hasbro sort of has a monopoly. They're kind of the only game in town. So
Yeah. Well, this is why I quite like the fact that the Valaverse Action Force figure line have sort of like entered the fray. You've heard of Valaverse in the Action Force line?
I did just see some of those. They look really cool.
Yeah. They are absolutely fantastic looking figures. I mean, I don't have any at the moment myself, but I've said on a couple of occasions that if it, well, I think Action Force and Valaverse, they were the kick up the backside that Hasbro needed for the G.I. Joe stuff. Because ever since Valaverse have come out with their Action Force line, the figures have improved immensely with G.I. Joe. You get more accessories. On the retro carded figures now, you're getting stands with them, whereas you never would before in a standard line. So yeah, the kick up the backside that Hasbro needed for those. And I think competition's good. These big corporations need
Yeah,
competition because they get
they
complacent,
do.
they get lazy, and they start churning out shite at the end of the
Yeah,
day. And it's just, but we're still buying it, and that's what bugs me. Is we're still buying this stuff. You know, people need to vote with their wallets and stuff like that,
I
and
know.
stop
Yeah, for
buying this
sure.
mediocre stuff. And is that why you prefer the vintage O-ring stuff? One of the reasons, because
Um,
you know what you're getting. It's tried and trusted.
yeah, that is true. You know what the quality of the, where you're, yeah, exactly. You know what you're getting. You know the quality of those toys.
Yeah.
I do buy the modern O-ring stuff just because it is such a cool nostalgic thing, and it's cool to see those modernized. And they did do a really good job with some of that modern O-ring stuff. Like the HasLab Sky Striker and the Snake
Yeah,
Eyes Storm Shadow, but
yeah,
there have definitely been some issues too. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Another thing about those reissues is the plastic is different, so it seems like it's less likely to break, especially on like the thumbs. The thumbs seem to be a lot more pliable, so they're not going to
oh, okay,
snap off. The crotches have been have made some improvements. I really wish that they would go full bore into the O-ring line the way they have with
okay,
classified.
yeah, definitely.
Because I would definitely buy modern O-ring stuff. Obviously, I mean I do buy it, so I
Yeah,
would I would continue for sure.
yeah. Do you think they'll do more?
I don't know. I really haven't heard anything about it, so
Mm,
it's up in the air. I really wish they would. Maybe they'll surprise us. They didn't really announce that Stinger G that they did. They just suddenly released that
no,
without
true.
any
Yeah,
warning.
yeah,
So,
mm,
maybe they'll keep doing one-off
yeah. That would
stuff like
be cool.
that. I don't know. But I
Well, I
know
hope so because
on the
they've
card
whet their appetite.
backs, yeah, I was just gonna say on some of the card backs, they had some figures listed and they did all of those. So I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know if they'll do more. I hope they do. I'm
Yeah,
keeping
hopefully,
my fingers crossed.
hopefully. Right, Jason, my friend, that has come to the end of the interview. These do go super quick. These chats, they really do. It's been absolutely great talking to you. Thank you so much for taking part. Where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, just GI Joe underscore guy.
Awesome, awesome. So what I should do then is when this goes up, I will put the link to your Instagram account in the description below.
All right, sounds good. It's been really good
So
talking to
people,
you. Thanks.
yeah, no,
Thanks for asking me to
no,
do
no, no,
this.
no. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking part. Like I said, you know, these hours just fly by. It's good to see other people's
Yeah.
collections. It's good to hear other people's stories and stuff like that. So you've been an absolute star. So thank you so much for taking part. All I've got left to say is, for those of you watching, thank you so much. Appreciate your support. Take care, stay safe, and we shall see you in the next video. And bye for now. Once again, this has been Jason, also known as G.I. Joe Guy. Take care, everybody. Thank you so much, and speak to you
See
soon.
ya.
Bye bye.